Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to my live. This is where I am offering a complimentary resume review. The reason I'm doing this is because I have seen a lot of LinkedIn posts. A lot of people have been reaching out to me. They are struggling in their job search. They can't land interviews. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's wrong, applying to thousands of jobs, hundreds and thousands of jobs, and still can't land interviews. I did this session yesterday too, and it was a good, really well received. So I decided to pop on here. So if you are live with me, let me know in the comment section. I'm also going to drop the link for you to join me live so that you can get your resume review from me. You don't have to have your camera on. You do have to hop on the live call to get a resume review from me. Okay, so here's the link. I've dropped it. Please feel free to hop on. You do have to hop on to StreamYard. And those that are joining me in the studio, so you have to join me in the studio to get your resume review. So let's begin. We have with us Nishita. Nishita?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how are you? Can't hear you? Can't hear you? Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, there's a lot of background noise. There's a lot of background noise. Can't hear you.
Is it okay now?
There's a lot of background noise.
Oh, just give me 2 minutes.
Do you have your resume ready to share? You can
Yeah, I have my resume ready to share with you right now.
share your screen.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of background noise, by the way.
Okay.
Those that are joining, I am conducting resume reviews today. I'm offering a complimentary resume review. If you want an HR and expert to review your resume, provide feedback, hop on the live with me. You do have to hop in the studio. StreamYard, it's the studio that I use, third party. You do have to hop on this studio for me to be able to, review your resume. So I've dropped the link. Feel free to hop on so that I can review your resume. If you are tuning in from any of the live streams, please don't hesitate to say hi. If you don't already know me, my name is Gurpreet Kaur. Man, I am an HR expert with 20 plus years of HR experience. I have 20 years of recruitment and hiring experience. I'm also a career growth expert strategist. I've been helping career professionals land high paying salary jobs, become top paid professionals in their field. So that's my expertise. If you are joining in with me in the studio, please have your resume ready to share so that we can begin resume reviews. So I see people popping in. Those that are in the studio, please have your resume ready to go so I can review it. Who wants to go next? Hi, honey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to my resume review complimentary session. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I work as a data analyst at Engage HPS, and I've been working there since August 24. I have been looking for a job since 4 to 5 months. I'm looking for a better role, a better opportunity. I graduated with a Master of Science in Business Analytics from University of Connecticut. Yeah, so that's about me. And I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering.
So what does better role look like for you?
Actually, I am looking for a role that pays me better, and
Okay, so what
um,
does that look like? What does pay better looks like for you?
so I am looking for a salary in the range of 80K to 100K.
Okay, so 80K to 100K. So then
Yeah.
my next question would be, why not just go for 100K?
Okay.
What's stopping you to go just claim that you want 100K? Because 80 to 100K is just 20K difference.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I do not have a concrete answer for that, but just looking at the difficulties in the current market, like that's what I put a price on myself like that, like 80 to 100K. But definitely, yeah, I am aiming for a 100K job.
Okay, so let's have a dialogue. Let's have a conversation about the salary. Right? Like you said, you because of the market, you put a 80 to 100K dollar value on you. Can I ask you, how did you come up with that? How did you determine that that's your dollar value?
So I basically determined it on the basis of I've seen my friends who got a job recently, and looking at the trends, like some of them have got a better job, but some of them even have got a worse job than like 70 or 80K, talking purely in terms of salary. So 80K was probably a median which I saw like amongst the trend amongst my friends and my colleagues and other people I know.
Okay,
So
so you're
yeah,
based. Okay, so you looked at your friends, you looked at your colleagues, and that's how you determined. You okay? You determined it based on people you know.
yes, exactly.
Okay. So you also said that some of your friends are making more money.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, what does how much are they making?
It's like it's a very few of them. Like I just have 2 or 3 examples who are earning more than 100K, but
Okay.
most of them are like somewhere in the range of between 60 to 90.
Okay, so those friends that are earning more than 100K, how come that doesn't motivate you to be like, okay, if they can do it, so can I?
Yeah, it does motivate me. Yeah, it does. But like I said, I just gave you a range
No,
of
no,
what.
I understand. I appreciate you giving me a range, and I want to have a dialogue. That's why I said I want to talk about this,
Yeah,
because you have friends that are making more than 100K, right?
yeah.
And are they have the same background as you, same credentials, same experience?
Probably a little bit more experience.
What does little bit more look like? 1 year, 2 years?
So it's like I have one
I
year
don't know
of
your friends, right?
experience. Sorry.
I don't know your friends, so I don't know what little bit will look like.
Yeah, so I have one year of experience, and the people I see who are getting more than 100K job, they have like at least 2 to 3 years experience.
2 to 3, so that's only 1 or 2 more years than you.
Yeah,
Okay. But one, there's a confirmation that you can get 100K if somebody you know is already making it. They have a little bit more than experience, 1 or 2 years experience more than you, right?
yeah.
Um, Next thing I want to say is I just want to do a little bit of an education here, take an opportunity to educate you. Your dollar value is not tied to what other people are making or what the market is dictating. So when you say put a dollar value on me, you're not really putting a dollar value. A part of you is acting from fear and saying, okay, you know what? Let's go on the safe bet and let me just ask for 80 to 100K. Some of your friends are making 60 to 70K. So you're basing your dollar value based out of fear. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. And also, if I could add a point to that,
Okay.
um, more than fear, I guess. I mean, I mentioned only one point about looking at my friends' salaries and then deciding a dollar value for myself. But
Hmm.
also, when I apply for jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed,
Okay.
I don't know, is it just about the current market or it has been the same trend as earlier? But in my field, in business analytics and data analytics, I have seen that this is like the salary the medium-sized companies are offering. I'm not talking about the large organizations, but majority of the listings for the roles where the requirements are 1 to 2 years of experience, they are offering the salary in this particular range. So
Okay.
that is another point where
Yeah.
my
That's a
yeah,
that's a really good point. And you said that the mid-sized companies are at large, right? So if you want and you desire and you want a really 100K, then the key is to not apply to mid-sized companies that are not paying that much, and you need to go to companies. It's not about mid-size. You need to go to companies that will pay you what you want. So
right.
the approach here needs to change, right? So the market, regardless of what you believe the market looks like, I would encourage you to have a mindset change here. Shift your mind to believe the market is great. There are tons of jobs. I know every single person that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks that I've been doing these resume reviews, every single person has been applying to jobs over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. So
Yeah,
if you can be applying to hundreds of jobs, how is the market bad? Like that's a question I want to ask everybody. Market would be bad if you've only applied to one job or two jobs in the last 4 months, but that's not the case. Every single person I'm talking to is saying they're applying. There's I haven't spoken to anybody that didn't apply to more than 100 jobs,
yeah,
right? So to me, when you're telling me you applied to hundreds and hundreds of jobs, how is the market bad? Market would be bad if there's no jobs for you to apply to. But if there are jobs that you're applying to, that means market's not bad at all. So that's also another thing that I want to clearly communicate to everybody is market would be bad if there were zero jobs available. So market
um,
isn't bad. There are jobs available, but but there is a high volume of competition.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
But before we even go into the market, anytime you apply to a job online, you're going into a pool of competition. Even if the market wasn't bad, there are still going you're the minute you apply to jobs online, you are going into competition. It's competitive. You are competing. Even if it's 20 people throw their name in the hat for that job, it's competition. You're competing with those 20 people. So that's one thing I want to educate people on the mindset here. This is where everyone's mindset needs to change. It doesn't matter what you know about the market right now. I know there's a lot of fears related to the market. Oh, the tech layoffs happened last year, started in 2023, so the market's bad. So you constantly keep telling yourself the story the market's bad, right? But let's take a step back. Let's go back to even 20 before 2020 even happened. The market was still the same in terms of the minute you apply to a job, you're competing for it. It's still the same. Yes, there might be more people looking for a job today, but the minute you apply to a job, you're going into the competition, and companies are going to hire the best out of the best of the pool. People who are applying to the job, they're going to source through that application process, and they're going to interview the top 10 people out of it, for example, right? It's the same analogy of when you submit an application for, maybe you're applying for an award, maybe you're applying for grant. Anytime you're submitting an application to be considered for something, you're going into a competition. Same thing when you're trying to win a prize, right? You're competing. Why do people play the lottery? Even though the odds of winning are still against you, people stop playing the lottery? No, people still play the lottery because there's a remote little chance that you can still win,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So so you're not giving up on that. So the market is just like a lottery system right now. The odds when you apply to job online, yes, the odds are already stacked against you. The odds of you landing an interview when you apply to jobs online is right now less than 3%. So when we are applying to jobs online, what's really, really important is that our resume has to 100% communicate to the company, to the recruiter. So there's couple of things that happen when you apply to job online. Number one thing is you got to make sure your resume is ATS compliant. So it's ATS friendly. Number two thing is you have 5 seconds to greet once your resume can be picked up by the ATS. A lot of companies also have knockout questions. Meaning, what does that mean? So I let me take a step back and say I have 20 years of recruitment experience. I've implemented so many different ATS systems in the market. Each operates differently. And an ATS, depending on how a company sets up, what futures they're going with, again, there's a dime a dozen of ATS in the market. A lot of companies, especially a lot of the big companies, mid to big companies, are going to invest in a really well-known ATS systems. A lot of the ATS systems allow you to a recruiter to set up knockout questions. This is when you're submitting an application, there's a series of questions that you're answering. Then what happens on the back end is when you answer those questions, those are knockout questions, and sometimes you can even pre-programmed that, hey, this is like if anybody's in the IT world, you'll understand this so much better. It's pretty much automation. So you answer a question, or if you're an Excel wizard, you know how we put formulas together and we do if statements. If the value is X, then do Y, right? Same concept of an ATS knockout questions. It's pretty much those if statements automation. If this is the answer, then send this email. So this is where the automation of I've seen a lot of people reaching out to me saying, hey, apply to jobs and right away get a rejection. That's automation. So what's happening in that process is that you're not even getting through the pre-screening knockout questions. You're being rejected. A recruiter probably hasn't even looked at your resume. So the key here is there's multiple things people have to do when you're applying to jobs online. Also keep in mind that job posting is your best friend. It has all the information. It will tell you exactly how your resume needs to be. My biggest thing is if you are in the game right now to look and you want to land interviews, job posting, the requirement section is the most it's the most best friend you have in the market that's going to tell you exactly what the company is looking for. So if you are applying to jobs and you're not reading the job description, you have a disadvantage here. Okay. So there's a couple of things I just want to quickly go over, and then I'll get into the resume reviews. I think this information is helpful because I've been reviewing so many resumes, and a lot of times people don't understand how ATS works, what's happening when you apply to jobs online. It's education and knowledge is power here. That's why it's important when you're applying to jobs online that you have the requirements to increase your chances of landing an interview. The other thing is, yes, your resume, and that's what we're going to get into now, is the resume review. Your resumes are the key to landing interviews. But I also want to let everybody know that just because a job posting is posted and you don't see a position that you want doesn't mean companies are not hiring for it. Research shows that up to 80% of all available jobs are actually companies do pre-hiring, pre-job posting hiring, which means that there are companies that will hire before they even post a position. That's a lot of jobs, guys, that you have access to, and you don't have to sit there and apply to jobs online. One of the things that you can actually do is your LinkedIn profile can be turned into a recruiter magnet where recruiters are reaching out to you. So there's multiple ways to land interviews. Job posting shouldn't be the only source you're using. So let's get back to resume, because you still need a great resume regardless if you're applying online or not, because even if a company reaches out to you directly, they're still going to ask for a resume. But Henny, I'm going to say is don't undervalue yourself and don't put a lower value on you out of fear based that the market's bad or other people are not making much. But if there are even 2-3 people that that are similar background, similar experience than you, and is already making more than 100K, that is the perfect proof that you can too make that much amount of money. You just need 1 or 2 people that are making it that much amount of money for you to know that that is possible for you. And the key here is you have to understand what are you bringing to the table. How
Right,
will
right,
company profit from you? What problems are you an expert in solving? What problems can you solve? How would the company uh, profit, right? Like in the end of the day, well, how much money can you save companies? How much money can you generate? And how you make a company profitable and how they profit from you is what we need to always be speaking on.
right. I get your point. And yeah, it gave me like a new perception because I also agree to the point that probably I've been operating from like a perception of fear. And that's why I haven't been able to like sell myself up to my true potential. That's what I think.
Yeah, so let's take a look at your resume and let me see where I can help you shift your mind and see your true potential.
Sure, sure. I'll just share my screen. Is it visible?
Yep. How many pages is this resume?
It's a one-page resume.
Yep. I already knew the minute I saw masters. So the problem with this resume is the one key thing that I keep seeing is those that are in a master's program or just graduated from master's program. Everyone's writing a one-page resume and looks exactly like this. First thing I'm gonna say is you need to turn this resume into 2 pages. Don't make it one-page resume. And how many years of experience do you have total?
1 year.
How is it 1 year? I see you've done an internship in May 2021. Then you worked from December 21 to July 22nd. And then you were also right now working HBS data analysis at August 2024.
So I wasn't counting the internship experience. I'm just
Why
counting
not?
the full.
Experience? Well, experience is experience. So why aren't you taking that into consideration? Why are you
Um,
dismissing that?
okay, yeah, then it's 1.25 years.
So that's what's gonna work against you. You see how you quickly just dismiss your internship and like just basically said it's not important.
Okay, okay. I'll take that as a feedback. Yeah, because until now I thought I just have to present the full-time experience.
No, experience is experience.
Okay, sure. I'll take that as a
Experience
feedback.
is experience. Honestly, like that's the other misconception people have is that they're only counting the experience where someone's paying them and it's full-time work. Experience is experience. How you get it doesn't matter. Even the your master's experience, 2 years in your master, that's an experience. I
Okay,
would
okay.
highly educate you to look up the definition of experience. I don't know where and how we lost the definition of true meaning of experience, and somehow we've been brainwashed and grilled to think that the only experience that counts is where we actually worked with the company and they paid us.
Right, right.
That's
So
not
actually,
the definition of experience. Experience is
yeah.
every second is an experience. Every minute of our life is an experience.
Right, right. I mean, I get your point, but from my side, where it was coming from is that I got this resume. Created a resume for myself, and I got it reviewed from one of the faculties at my university. Like our university has a
Mhm.
resource where
Yeah.
there's a career-specific resource where there are people who help you with your resume and stuff. And they said that in US, companies don't really consider the internship experience, and that's the reason I wasn't counting that.
Okay, let's talk about that now. Now, what's these people's credentials? Who said this to you? Have they worked in the corporate world?
Most of them has worked as HRs in the corporate world, as far as I know. But for the past few years, they have been working with the university.
Okay, so they've worked in the past. What's the past look like? Are we talking about 20 years ago, 10 years ago? What are we looking at?
Um, I have a person's profile opened up on my phone. Let me just check it out.
Just before you take anyone's advice, first always validate the advice. Number two, just because someone's giving advice does not mean it's a correct advice for you. You have to be in the privacy to determine if the person who's giving you advice is actually correct for you. In this case, the person who told you the companies don't value internship, basically, to me, that's a lie. Companies do value internships. It's actually, it, first of all, it comes down to what you actually did in the internship. I have mentored tons of people and hired interns in my company, but those internships were actual jobs. I aligned their work experience to what they wanted so that they can go get a real job once they graduate from college, and they all did. It all comes down
Right.
to how you position that internship, right? You don't have to call yourself an intern. That's the other
Right.
thing. In the end of the day, it's what you view it as, right? So you view that that person gave you advice. Maybe they're giving you advice because you think it's not valuable. You, maybe part of you already believes it's not valuable, and that person just validated or confirmed that for you. I'm going to tell you, I've been working in HR for 20 years, even currently. Experience is experience. What you've done in that role actually matters, regardless of what the title is. Remove the
Sure.
intern and don't see it as an internship. Internships are designed to give students the experience they need so they can land jobs. How is that not valuable? If that, so that's where I disagree with the person who gave you this advice that companies don't value or don't see internships as valuable. If they don't see it as valuable, then why are companies offering them?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's how you need, when someone tells you that, you need to be then sit there and be like, well, then why are companies offering internships if they don't value them?
Right. Yeah.
The whole point
No,
of internship is to give you the experience, right?
right. Yes, I get your point. And actually, I just followed his advice blindly because he's the lead, career coach for the graduate programs at our university. And I think that was a credible advice, and therefore I followed it. But I also understand what you are saying.
I'm going to say one thing, and I don't want to sound cocky, but a lot of the universities are giving wrong advice.
Okay.
And a lot of these universities are also giving you outdated advice. So this resume is, in my perspective, from coming from 20 years experience and working in recruitment in various different industries, this resume is the reason why you're not landing interviews. So turn this resume into 2 page. You don't start your resume with your education. That's not the opening we do want to do. We want to introduce you, but we want to introduce you as somebody who can add value to the other person. So you have to present yourself as value add, and you have to understand the value add that you're bringing to the table. How will the company benefit from you? What results can you deliver? Now, when I say this, this has nothing to do with how many years of experience you have. There is something in you, there is something so unique about you that nobody else has. And that's first starting point, is to understand what is your uniqueness. What are you exceptionally great at? What are you genius at? I had a client that never in his life worked for a company, and nor did he had education in developing iOS apps, but he learned it on his own and he loved it. He can lock himself in a room for days and develop apps. And he did, and he launched an app, and it was a big hit in South Africa. Big hit. So when we were talking and his face was lighting up, I'm like, why aren't you looking for iOS app developer roles? And his answer was, because I don't have education in it, so companies won't hire me. I'm like, but you have real experience. You've made apps, you can lock yourself. That's your passion, that's your soul calling. You love it, you can lose yourself in it. And you actually developed so many apps, and one of them was a big hit in South Africa. That's more than enough proof for any company to want to pick you up. Within 2 weeks, he landed a job.
Oh, that's great.
So the moral of this story is, and with my help, he was able to retain a six-figure role. I was a developer in a great company organization. It all came down to how we presented him, how we communicated to employers, how he communicated in those interviews to turn them into job offers. So it's not about how many years experience you have. One thing I've noticed as I speak to people, they're not really in doing the work they're passionate about. See, you data analyst. What do you do in your free time?
Um,
Are you
so,
constantly sitting there and analyzing data?
sorry, I wasn't able to hear the last sentence.
In your free time, are you constantly just analyzing data?
No.
Then then I'm gonna question you. How is this your passion? I'm gonna
So,
question this to everybody. Why are you chasing the jobs you're chasing? Why are you getting the education you're getting? Are you sitting there every day, and what do you do in your free time? Because what you do in your free time determines your passion, determines what you want to do. Because if you ask me what I do in my free time, it's actually entrepreneurship, constantly learning on different strategies in business, constantly listening to other business people. I'm consumed by it 24/7. The sleep, we eat. This is what I do. And this is, I'm going on conferences, listening to different podcasts. So everybody on this call, I'm going to bring everybody up before I get into the resumes. What do you do in your free time? Because if you're not constantly consumed by your profession, the roles you want, then there's a big question mark there. That means you're not really passionate about it. That means someone told you that this is the best role, so you went and get that education. There's jobs in this, so go. Then that's why you're going after. So I would like to question everybody that's on the call that I brought everybody up. Can you tell me, are you constantly consumed and passionate, like you actually spend your time, free time, like my client was spending his free time locking himself in a room? Like, I'm not literally mean he locked himself, but like he can spend days and days and days and sleep, breathe, eat, just coding and developing apps. So what are you doing in your free time? Interesting how it's pins drop silence. I see Luhith is full stack developer. Like, if you're a full stack developer, are you constantly developing stuff? I mean, full stack engineer. Are you spending your free minutes developing websites, backends? Like, what projects have you done that are full stack development that has nothing to do with companies you're working for or worked in the past? Nobody? Dairy, Nishta. And this is where now the key differences comes in. The reason I asked this question was to show you why many of you are struggling in landing jobs is simply because you're not you're not um you're not passionate about the work you're doing, and when there's no passion, you're not up to date what's happening in the market. And when you don't have passion for it, you're not going to be ahead of somebody who has passion for it. And that's where you're going to lose. And that's where you are losing. You're losing against somebody who truly has passion for the work they're doing, and hence they are outshining you. Passion is something you can't hide. No? Okay, I'm gonna silence here. So let's go back to the resume review. Just something to think about is you got to know what you're passionate about. this is something you have to be passionate about. So, honey, you don't leave with education. So I would encourage you to think about what value add you can bring. How can you help companies when it comes to data analyst is the role you're looking for.
Yes.
When it comes to data analyst, what are you exceptionally great at, and how can you help companies with it?
So my
Not this,
expertise.
sorry, this is not a convers like I don't need an answer. You're
Okay.
not going to have an answer to that question, but that's what you need to add. That's a value proposition statement. Is you do need to know the value you bring to the table, how companies will benefit from you. But
Okay.
data analyst is is a generic term. You're generalizing it, but find yourself. What are you actually expert in when it comes to data? For example, at a client that is data, and what she's really actually expert in, let me just pull up her stuff. And this is where everything will come into light is you do need to start thinking, how are you different? How are you exceptionally great at what you do? Let me share my screen.
Sure.
Let's see. No. Transforming complex pharmaceutical data into clear, actionable insights to drive sales growth and improve patient care. See how clear that is?
Yeah.
So what data are you good in analyzing?
You want me to answer that or
See how
different
clear that
perspective?
is compared, and that's what I'm saying that you need to do, right? You need to start thinking in terms of, so she's somebody who is data analytics, and once I diagnosed her entire career experience, what she was actually good at was actually pharmaceutical data. Looking at pharmaceutical data, helping analyzing that so that it can drive, so it's driving sales growth, helping pharmaceutical companies increase their sales and improve patient care.
Right.
So this is how you're going to start standing out of the crowd. The key here is that you want to stand out of the crowd and not blend in. So I don't know, like, first of all, I don't even know that you're looking for a data analytic role and that's what your specialty is, because you don't talk about that. Don't know how many years of experience you have. So that's the other thing that's missing. Skills table can be more neatly organized. And then when we get into the heart of your work experience, your bullets read more general terms, like the current role. You've been in it since August 2024. You wrote only 3 bullets, and those bullets read more like a job description. So you're explaining your duties, but you're not talking on the results at all. So the key is when we're doing our bullets, we want to actually talk about results and not talk about our job duties. You can easily summarize your job duties in a couple of sentences, and but you want to actually write results. Each bullet should talk about one result you've accomplished.
Right. Yeah.
Like in the business analyst, you said reduce cost by 15,000 by identifying and eliminating inefficiencies in the supply chain using SQL queries to analyze and present data to stakeholders. But see, even that piece is so generalized. You're saying you reduce cost by 15,000 by identifying and eliminating inefficiencies in supply chain. But what you, I'm assuming you analyze data because you said analyzing data and presenting data. So you said identifying, eliminating efficiencies, but you don't even talk about, it's not clear what did you do? How did you reduce cost by $15,000?
Right. So you mean for each point I have to
No,
go
no,
and explain detail?
I'm asking you a question. I'm not asking you to explain each things in details, but your bullets have to paint a clear picture, and someone should be able to read your your bullet and clearly understand exactly what you're trying to communicate. You said you reduced cost by $15,000, but which cost did you reduce? So number one, which
Uh,
cost did you reduce, and how did you reduce cost by 15,000?
so actually, what I did there was it was a team task. So this 15,000, it's the final number given by the team, and it's not just like my own individual contribution, but
I
it
get
was.
that, but how did you? What cost was reduced, and then how was it done?
So those were the supply chain costs, and initially, that's we did not have any data points for that. But me along with my team, we created a database system for that, and that's where I used the SQL queries. And at the end result was the saving in the supply chain
Okay,
costs.
so that's what you need to say. Reduce cost, reduce supply costs by whatever supply costs. So you have to be very clear. Clear communication is so important on resumes. Reduce supply costs by $15,000 by developing a supply chain database that helped accomplish some X, Y, and Z. Like it needs to tell a story. You're just
Yes,
saying,
yes,
you're just throwing something out there saying, I did this by identifying this and then developing using SQL queries, and that's it. But
I
when
understood.
I asked you the question, you said you developed a database,
Yeah,
but you don't talk about that at all. The key information is missing, and that key information is the key to getting you interviews.
right, right. Yeah,
So major problem is that your communication and messaging is not clear, and hence you're losing out on jobs. Make sense?
yeah, it does. It was a great insight. Yes,
Okay, so can I ask you one question?
sure.
Do you know how to write a resume that will land you interviews? You know how to write those bullet points?
I don't think I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna offer you something. I'm offering my resume writing course at 50% off. You can grab it today for just $47. In this resume writing course, it's about 3 hours. Not only am I going to teach you how to write a resume that land interviews, I also teach you how to write these bullet points. I also give you ChatGPT prompts, templates, done for you statements that are easy to grab and copy and paste. Biggest thing is I'm going to teach you how to do a whole 360 diagnostics on your career to really understand what makes you complete genius at what you do. You have to first understand your genius before you can even write a resume, right? Because that is what makes you unique, and that's what is the selling point here, right? That's
Yeah,
what's going to sell you. But if you don't know what is your selling point, how are you going to be able to sell yourself,
right.
right?
Yeah,
And resume writing is a skill that you're always going to need throughout your career. And also what I also included in the bonus is that you also get 8 hiring managers and recruiters that share their inside secrets on hiring and what they're looking for. So you're learning from VPs. There's a recruiter that works for Deloitte. She spills the tea as well. So I've gathered some of my recruiters and hiring managers to really to share a lot of key information on what's happening in the market and what they're looking for, so that you can really write a resume that will help you land those interviews fast. And those that have taken my interview writing course has and started landing interviews really fast. It was like the missing piece, the missing link to landing interviews.
sure, sure. Thanks for that. I'll buy the course.
So I dropped the link. Feel free to drop any questions.
Sure.
Do you have any questions, Henry?
Uh,
Henny?
Yeah, it's Hani. For now, I'd like to ask you, like, what would you say is the importance of a cover letter? Should I be attaching with each of the applications I send, or is it not mandatory?
Cover letters are important simply just because some people want want a cover letter and some people won't. You're not gonna know who wants and who doesn't, so it's a good thing to always have a cover letter.
Okay, okay, sure. And another question that I have is, it basically arose from the conversation that we were having, like when you asked about the question related to passion and what really gives me a kick. I wanted to ask, like I am currently developing my skills in the data analytics field as well, but I somewhere have started taking knowledge into entrepreneurship and business consultation. But how would you say, like, if I develop an expertise, how do I go looking for a job exactly that matches my skills? Because most of the times, like I see there's a job description and there is a certain a demand for skills in the market, and everybody just goes, or if I would say for myself, I just look at the skills which are um, like hot skills right now, and then I move forward with
Okay.
learning them. But if
What's
there
gonna
if there
happen? Sorry to interject. What's gonna happen to you is what happens to many people is if you're constantly just chasing what's hot, you
Yeah,
never truly know who you are and what you want. You're just constantly just chasing the best next thing. So it's like you're
right.
hopping on different wagons, right? I'm going to encourage you to really get to know yourself and what is it that you want. It's don't be scared to get to know you. Don't be scared to own what is it that you want.
um
There's always a need for everybody. If you're just constantly chasing the best next skills, then that's where there's no originality of you, right? There's always going to be new things coming into the market. You have to decide, do you is it aligned with your goals? Is it aligned with where you want to go? You
right.
have to be in the driver's seat of your career. And so I work in HR for 20 years, and each company I've worked for, I always did career mapping for employees in the company to map up their careers in the organization or outside of the organization, to map out, like, you all this is why you need to do this. Career mapping is the big tool. It's easy to do. You need to know, you've heard the saying, don't dress for the role you have today, dress for the one you want tomorrow. You don't land a job and then that get comfortable. The minute you land your role, you should already be planning for the next role. And this is where I would say 99% of people fail. Don't quote me on the percentage, but from my experience, 9 out of 10 people are not doing this. A lot of people are so scared to figure out what is it they want. They rather have someone dictate to them what they need to do and where they should go, versus saying, I want this and this is what I'm going to go after. For example, I wanted the HR, I pursued it. I did not go get a designation in HR. It was on my radar, but more I looked into it, the more it was in alignment with what I wanted. That's not to say that I didn't do professional development. I have tons of professional development. I believe in professional development. I believe in always developing yourself. There's tons of ways to develop yourself, but you have to know what is it that you want from your heart. So this question you're asking me is a question you need to ask yourself from your heart. What is it you really want? You're real, like, I'm gonna go and say you're young. I don't know if you are young, but I'm going by because you only have 1.5 years experience. One thing I can say that really drove my career was knowing at every given moment what is it that I want. I didn't let someone dictate my career or lay out my career path for me or my roadmap. That was my job to do. That's not someone else's job to do. And that's why I've been successful in my entire career, because I was in the driver's seat.
Right.
You can have other people be in the driver's seat of your career and dictate what it should look like and where it needs to go. Nobody knows you better than you know yourself. The only thing that's standing in that way is you're too scared to get to know yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
It's always people's fears and insecurities that stop them to really going after what they want. Like it's like safer to have someone tell you versus trusting your own self. So you're scared to trust yourself. I'm going to tell you the biggest mistake you're going to make is that you don't trust yourself. Hence, you're going to get misguided.
Right,
So trust yourself and trust that you have everything in you to make the right decision for you. Please be in the driver's seat of your career. Don't let someone else be in the driver's seat and you be the passenger of your career. And that's sadly what I've seen in 20 years of working in HR. Even in companies, I've seen it even in companies, employees are in the passengers instead of being in the driver's seat. And this is where you're going to get all walked over by companies. Companies won't value you. You'll get underpaid. And so many other things are going to happen. Like people will stay in roles in companies simply because they have a job versus going out and getting a better job, or keep waiting on empty promises companies keep making. Oh, I'll give you a promotion next year or in 6 months, but in 6 months will pass and you still don't get the promotion. 1 year will pass and you still don't get the promotion. You have to know in the driver's seat, and when you are ready to move into the next level role and the company you're working for doesn't give it to you, that's your first signal. Right away start looking for another job in another company. Don't let someone dictate what you are ready and what you're not ready for. You know what you're ready for.
right.
Okay? I do have to
Yes.
move on.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. Thanks so much.
with you.
And
You're welcome.
our conversation has really given me a different perspective, and I do have a few points to think about, but it was really nice talking to you, and thanks for
Thank you,
reviewing my
likewise.
resume. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Who wants to go next? Those that are tuning in, I am currently offering complimentary resume review. I'm going to drop the link and you'll be able to hop on the studio, in the studio with me, on the call live with me to get your resume review. Those that are joining me in the studio already, those that want to go next, please already have your resume ready and shared on the screen. Once I see your resume is already being shared on the screen, then I will be calling you up next. Okay, so those that are in the private in the studio with me, I see a couple of people saying I can go next, but please, as I'm indicating, please, here's the instructions, guys. If you're in the studio with me and you want your resume reviewed, already share your resume. There is a button that says present, click on that, and then you'll be able to click on share screen or upload your file. Once you have that, and you'll be able to share your screen. Once I see that, I'll be able to call on you, like Siddharth. Hi, Siddharth.
Hi, Gurpreet.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you.
Okay, so tell me what brings you on this call?
So I have been trying a few different things to tailor my resume or to um, make it in a way that probably gets me some interviews, but I'm really stuck at not getting the interview calls, basically.
Okay, what are you stuck on?
Uh, so I'm not sure. I have been getting the assessments, the online assessments. I'm primarily looking for software engineer roles. Um, but even though I do, as per me, I do clear out those assessments, online assessments, um, like with all the test cases and the optimal solution. But I still don't get to hear back from any of them, and it's not like I do get a rejection. I do get couple of them rejections, but most of them I don't like. In the portal, even in the portal, it says like in consideration or just goes over to no longer under consideration without any feedback. I try to get in touch with any of the people from that company or recruiter to at least get a feedback what went wrong. But yeah, I don't get any. So also I'm not going through like getting through to the recruiters probably after like November. Till November I was getting these assessments, but after November I haven't been getting those assessments as well. So I'm not sure what's going wrong. If it's my resume that's not going through to the ADS, or what is it basically?
So let's track back. The first thing you said was your assessments, right? So you're getting those assessment after you apply to a role, right?
Right.
Okay. So if you apply to a role and then you get an assessment, and technical roles, usually that's what happens. You apply to a role, and if you are a match to what they're looking for, then they'll send you, the next thing is they'll send you an assessment, right?
Right.
Now, if you're not moving beyond the assessments, I don't know what these assessments look like, but I have a hunch, you're working in HR for 20 years, that there was somebody else that beat you in the assessment.
Oh, okay. It makes
So there's
sense.
something in the it doesn't always necessarily has to be that you failed the assessment. In the end of the day, company can only pick handful of people they can interview, and shortlist candidates, right? So if you're not
Right.
passing the round of the assessments, then the assessments is the issue here.
Okay.
Either you're not well prepared to do those assessments. So I would encourage you to I don't know which assessment. Were they all technical assessments?
The coding, yeah, all coding
Yeah.
ones.
So if you didn't pass the coding assessments, then yes, you're weak in the code, somewhere in the codes.
Okay. But even then, like,
And
how
no
do?
company's gonna give you feedback.
Okay.
So you can reach out to everybody
Right.
else that they're not obligated to give you any feedback, and asking for feedback, um, you can ask for feedback. No one's gonna give it to you. To me, it's a waste of time, in my humble opinion.
Right. No,
But
I completely understand from the recruiter standpoint as well. Like people would be asking for, then n number of people would be asking for the
yeah,
feedback.
I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, I wrote a post a couple of days ago that recruiters don't owe you anything. Recruiters
Mhm.
don't owe you, they don't need to reply back to your message. They don't owe you feedback. They don't owe you anything, right? The reason I say this, it's not like I work in HR for 20 years, and I can tell you, and I think what I want to shed light here is yes, I understand that you want feedback, but you have to put yourself in the recruiter's shoe. If they start giving feedback to every single person, how are they going to then have time to do their actual job that they're getting paid to do?
Right. Right.
It's
That
not
makes
part of
sense.
the job description to give feedback. Yes, I know, in a perfect world, in a real perfect world, yes, we would love to give feedback. What no one understands, and I think a lot of people don't do a good job talking about it, so I'm happy to talk about it and tell you guys, is that every role that I worked in, my role wasn't just to recruit. So I also have other tasks to do. And I openly told anybody that I spoke with, and I said, listen, I will only get back to candidates that I'm moving forward with. If you don't hear back from me, that means I'm not moving forward with you. Rest assured, when I close this role, the system will send you an email notifying you the role is closed.
Right.
But I will not give feedback. I have given feedback in the interview. When you start up your career, you want to do best, and you remember yourself as a candidate, but it always backfired on me. And I stopped giving feedback because it becomes the reason for me, the reason I don't get, and I'm not saying I never give feedback. There's been times where I have given feedback, but I knew the person. I got really good at knowing when someone will be open to receiving the feedback. The other thing is, you know, I people, it's not that nobody wants to give feedback. There is a lot of nuance that a lot of people don't understand. It becomes it can backfire on you giving feedback. Some people can't take the feedback. It also becomes a game that, okay, you gave me feedback, now I need to prove to you that I can do it, but you get that one shot, right? So it's like going on auditions, and you don't make it, no one's going to give you a second chance to make that cut, right? So you need to understand that you have that one shot. You blow it, you blow it.
Right.
But the key is to learn from each of these mistakes, right? What worked for me is I identified what my weaknesses were when it came to job search.
Mm-hmm.
So my weakness was never writing a resume. For love of God, that was one thing that I was exceptionally great at. And it's a skill that I kept working and became really good at. The one thing that early on, right from the get go, I identified I was not good in interviews. Interviews were my weak point. And but here's what I did. I identified that's my weak area, but I put a lot of time into developing that as a skill. I would I would prep for interviews like this is how I actually prep for interviews. When I had an interview, I didn't schedule the interview right away. And I think a lot of people make this mistake is that we get so excited that we landed an interview and right away we want to get it done. So, for example, the company reached out to you and to schedule assessment. Maybe you jumped too fast to getting the assessment done versus planning and deciding. Planning means that, okay, they want me to do an assessment. Realistically, how long do I need to prepare myself so that I ace the assessment, right? So because I wasn't good in interviews, I know I need that time to prep and prepare so that I can kill the interview, right? So I would not schedule my interview right away. No, no. I would determine like a gap or two gaps. So I always let my voice it go to voicemail, or if they send me an email, then I'll plan it. Okay, this is the date I'm available and these are the times available, but it'll always be like at least 48 hours gap because I need
Okay.
those 2 days to prep. My prep was I had the job description. I always saved every job description for every role I've applied to. And I will pull that out. No recruiter or an HR had to give me a job description. I already had it because I saved it. I will do a thorough research on the company. I will look at the things that are important to me so that when they ask me the question, what do you know about the company? I'm not just reading their mission statement. I made it really personal and added a personal touch. Plus, I will read the job description for every line that's written on the job description. I wrote at least 5 talking points explaining how I did it and what results was it. So I would use what's the problem. I didn't use the STAR method. I developed my own method. It was just identifying the problem, the solution, the results, and how the company benefited from it. This is actually a formula I teach as a coach in my coaching programs as well. And I will prep. I had talk, and I'm somebody that needs to write everything for it to my mind to start flowing. In an interview, you're not going to know which questions they're going to ask, right?
Mhm.
So you have to have this is all the prep I used to do so that when I went into the interviews, I don't sound like I just memorized questions. I just copy pasted internet questions and answers. I spoke from my questions, my answers based on real experience that I have. So it became organic and I was always ready. And the more I did this, the better I got in interviews to the point that I can walk into an interview and I know I will kill it. And
Okay.
just because you don't get land a job offer doesn't necessarily always means that you were not a good fit or anything. I've been to interviews where companies kept calling me back because they loved me so much during the interview, but that role wasn't a good fit for me or for the role. But they still always called me back when there was an opportunity. Like you have to build that relationship in interviews when you're with somebody. You have undivided intention. When you're in an interview, the goal shouldn't always be to land that offer. The goal should be number one goal should be to build the relationship with
Relationship.
the person that's interviewing you. Number two is turn each question as you answer the question, turn it into a dialogue. Get the person that's interviewing you to engage in the dialogue and turn it into a conversation. I did this in every interview. I turned those grilling interview questions into a dialogue and got the person to participate in it. So now we're having a two-way conversation versus them reading their long questions. It's the onus. I'll tell you, as somebody who's interviewed thousands of people, I've done thousands of interviews. It's always the energy of the candidate that will drive if the interview turns into a conversation. If you're sitting there stiff, and you're just like speaking in one flat tone, that's not inviting. That's not going to get the other person to engage with. So the key is also to be yourself. Like look how I'm talking. I keep moving my hands. That's who
Right.
I am. Like you're talking and you're not moving your hands, right?
Yep.
But that's not me. My hands move a lot, so I stay true to who I am. So when you go to interviews, if you're somebody that moves your hands, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we live in a world where we're constantly like, people are telling us to, like, we have to be in this perfect box, we have to be a particular way. No, the only way you need to be is who you are. You have to be your true. See how you're smiling? I
Right.
can guarantee you in the interviews you're probably not even smiling. So
Uh,
then that personality touches in there, right? So we are human beings. When the other person, gets on the call, I know it's nerve-wracking. Even me, like when I get on these calls, half the time people don't even ask me how I'm doing. People fail to even just have a little conversation with me. But I'm doing that. I know some people might be getting annoyed right now that I'm taking so much time talking to somebody. I should be just going like one after the other, just keep reviewing resumes. But hey, it's my session, and this is how I want to do. I want to have a dialogue. It's boring to just sit there and review resumes, one resume after another. It is. It truly is.
right.
But it's, to me, I like having conversations. I want to know your pain points. I want to know where you're struggling. Sometimes just having a dialogue can help somebody.
Right. Um, So as you mentioned, like it might be I'm failing on those assessments. Somewhere I'm losing out on those assessments, and I need to improve. But uh, how would I get to know if I like don't get the feedback, like where I lagged actually? Because those assessments are actually proctored, and I can't really memorize that whole question and ask around people. I try to like recall some of the part of the question, and I did ask around my peers and my seniors and people who are already working in that company. I try to post that on different forums, and like couple of them I did get the response that the one approach that I did was like the similar or the best approach that was possible, or a best possible solution for that question. So uh, even like as you said, like I have to improve, but what would you
Mm,
suggest? Like, how do I
okay.
get to know where should I improve and how?
So one thing you should do is always, this is something I always did when I was going on interviews, and I know interviews were my weaknesses. Right away when I got out of the interview, the first thing I did was I had a pen and paper with me. I wrote down all the questions that were asked of me and what my answer was. And then tomorrow or 2 days from now, I will go back and look at it and be like, okay, how could I better answer this? So
Okay.
you see how you're constantly looking for feedback? I never looked for feedback. I am my feedback. Who is the most critical person to give me feedback? Me. We are the
Okay.
most critical of our own selves, right? So why do I need someone criticizing me when I would do a better job criticizing me than they can? Right? It's
Right.
human nature that we are really hard on ourselves, and we're the worst critical of our own self than another person, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I don't need, like, that's why I never resonate when so many people are sitting on LinkedIn saying I didn't get a feedback, it will help me. To me, I can never, it never resonates with me, because to me, why do you need someone to tell you your shit when you can do that yourself and say, okay, it's not about shit, pardon my language. It's not about, if you're constantly somebody that wants to keep improving and keep growing, you will do this step that I was doing all the time. I do this even today. Even today, 20 years later, I'm still doing this exact thing I always do. Any meeting now, it's obviously meetings and non-interviews, but interview stage, it was okay. I would write down every question that was asked. I wrote my answer down because it's right fresh in the mind right now, right? If I
Right.
don't do this step, I'm going to forget what the questions were and forget my answers. So I used to do this right away. Now we have such tools. In early 2000s, we didn't have the tools we have today, right? You can go to interviews and you can record your own interviews and analyze.
Ah. Okay.
You can
Okay.
analyze it, right? Analyze it
All
in some,
right. Yeah.
well, just a little bit look at the legal laws around it. Some provinces, some states may not allow you to record it. In some places, you may be able to record it. If you are able to record it, I would just say hit the audio, like the record button on the
Hmm.
voice memo, and just record your interviews and look at areas of improvements that you can do. You don't need someone to tell you where you went wrong. I guarantee you, if you recorded your own interviews, you'll know where you're going wrong.
Right, right. That's
You'll
a
know,
good
like,
suggestion.
oh, shoot, like I shouldn't have said that. Or even if you don't know where you're going wrong, if you just ask yourself, how can I better answer this question next time? I guarantee you, you already made an improvement in how you would do it. You
Right.
don't need someone to tell you. This is something you can self-diagnose and self-do it, right?
Yep.
The key is, do you know the weaknesses, right? And also, so that's what I would do. Second thing is, like, all the assessments you've done, if they're all coding, what you code, and then ask yourself, is there a better way to code this?
Okay.
So the more you practice, the better you're gonna get. And
Right.
that's one thing with even interviews. I knew that was my weakness, right? Like right when I started looking for jobs. I just started to apply to every role just to keep going on interviews. The more interviews I went on, the more comfortable I got.
Got it.
This was in
Right.
the
Yeah, that's
obviously
true.
early stages of my career. I wouldn't do this
Yeah.
now. Like, I'm not gonna go on interviews for the sake of going on interviews. But I always tell people, like, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses. Even when you're job searching, you need to be self-aware of where are your strengths when it comes to job searching and where are your weaknesses. Are you good in writing resumes? Are you good in interviews? Are you
Right.
good in networking? Are you good in cold emailing? Like, there's tons of ways to job search. But if you're not self-aware, then how can you make any improvements and get the results you want?
Right. Right. Yeah,
So the
I get it.
coding thing, I would say, is just, yeah, look at all the questions.
Keep
Also,
practicing.
I also Glassdoor.com. A lot of times you can find a lot of information under Glassdoor where some past candidates have shared what type of questions were asked in that interview and what they answered. And you can get a lot of information. I'm surprised a lot of people don't go Glassdoor before they go on an interview to get a lot of key information. Like, a lot of people are spilling the beans. You can go to Reddit forums and get
Yeah,
instant.
Reddit is much more. Yeah.
Yeah, like
These
Reddit
days.
forums, Glassdoor. The amount of tools we have today didn't exist when I graduated from university and I was looking for jobs. Didn't exist back then. Now we have tons of information, but the sad thing is, because we have tons of information, this is where the noise is coming in. A lot of people are getting a lot of different advice and they don't know which one to follow, kind of thing. Also,
Right. Yeah.
but you can find out in advance what interview questions you might be asked because someone's already sharing that
Yeah,
information on
that's
the
true. Yeah.
wild web, right?
Yep. Right. Right. Yep.
There's always something better you can always do.
Got it. Yep.
Like, I can't tell you if you went wrong on your assessment or not. Uh, I can't, right? Sometimes you didn't go wrong, but maybe somebody else beat you and they were much better, right? So it's
Right.
not always just the assessment. You look at two things, the assessment, how you scored, and then also your resume, right? So if I
Right.
have 20 people, but now I only want to interview 10 people, it's a way of the assessment helps the recruiters also
Filter
short
out.
the
Yeah.
candidates, right? So it's not necessarily you may be going wrong, but maybe somebody is also stronger than you are.
Right. Right. In
Hence
that
why
case,
I
would
say keep practicing and keep coding, keep practicing. The more you practice, the better you're gonna get at these coding assessments. I'm not a big fan of assessments, but for technical roles, yes. I
yes.
always, I don't care what your resume looks like. You can
Yeah.
glorify your resumes, but the real thing is when you give someone a test. So any technical roles, I always had a test that I used to give people to, and if depending on your score.
That's right. Yeah.
Sometimes you get nervous too, and you may end up have answering the question on the assessment wrong.
Right. Yeah.
So your field, you're always going to get that assessment. No one's going to interview without the assessment.
That's right.
I was on a call with the hiring manager today who is hiring tons of roles. And yeah, he said, like, a lot of their technical roles, they have assessment. And if you can't clear the assessment, they're not going to. want to speak with you.
Right.
All technical roles are going to have assessments. Can't take face value of what you're saying you can do.
That's true.
Show us. You got to show us that you can do it, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in that case, would you like, as you mentioned, like probably the resume might factor in as well if like more people, there are a bunch of people who are clearing the assessments, then some people might have a strong resume, probably an Ivy League
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
for
in there
sure.
somewhere or a
For
FANG
sure.
experience. So
Is
could
this
you
one
just,
page?
yes, it's one
Okay,
page.
so that's where you're losing out. Turn this into 2 pages. You have 7 years experience. How can you cramp all your 7 years into one page?
Yeah, I wasn't able to actually. There are a bunch of things I haven't actually, but I read
Turn
around like
don't
it's
I don't care. I'm gonna just cut you off for a second. I don't
sorry.
care where you read, who's telling you to do one page. Just I'm gonna tell you if you want to land interviews, turn this into 2 pages.
Uh-huh.
It's okay if it even goes over 3 pages. You don't need to tell your GPA. Is this
Okay.
master's? You can have your GPA, not a problem. Education should be on the last page.
All
Your
right.
summary is result driven. I wish for every if I can get $1 for every time I've seen that word result driven, I'll be rich. Even yesterday, 9 out of 10, everybody had this word called result driven, result oriented, and whatnot. These are cliche words, right? You're
Got
saying
it.
you're a full stack engineer with 7 years in healthcare IT. You kind of all you did here is if you see all you did was list a bunch of keywords which can easily be put into skills table. Then you follow with skilled. Who are you? How would I benefit from you? How would I profit from you? What problems can you solve for me? What solutions can you deliver? So you're not communicating your value. How would you add value to an organization? You're too focused on your tech skills and you think, see, here's where a lot of techie people go wrong is they think this tech is going to get them a job and they just talk about the skills. Great that you have a master's. Great you have all these technical skills, but I'm not going to hire you because you have all these technical skills. Can you give me the results? Show
Okay.
me the results, right? And that's where you're losing out. And also, you are full stack developers. I'm going to assume here on a big lump here, big assumption, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to nail this. You obviously are looking for more than 100K here,
Yep.
right? Because you have
Right.
7+
Yes.
years. So what are we looking at? 150K plus?
150 around. Yep.
Yeah. And this resume doesn't look like a 150K candidate. So that's the other places where you're losing out is see, it really matters how we present ourselves on a piece of
Okay.
paper. You have to look like a 150 candidate. If you don't, another person's already looks like it, right? So if you don't look like 150K and this everything on this resume doesn't scream to me that you are a 150K candidate, I'm gonna have a hard time trying to wrap my head around should I interview or not.
Okay.
So this is where you're losing out. Like your resume, and let me show you. You need to, I'm going to show an example. It's not a tech resume, but your resume does need to look like this. Everyone's resumes needs to look like
Um.
this way. Okay. You need to, you can easily do your name and put your credentials right behind your last name and then have your email address and your phone number. You can write where you're from, the city and state or just the state. You don't have to, by the way, write that. And you should put full stack developer engineer. There should be a hook statement that really captures the reader's attention because you have 5 seconds to grab a reader's attention. This is a value add. This is the value I'm bringing to the table. You do definitely need to spell out how many years experience, which you do, but don't lead with result driven because again, everyone's saying that.
Um.
You need to communicate in a unique way that captures the reader's attention. And this is what I call a value proposition statement that speaks more on the value add that you're going to add to the organization. And yes, we should have some matrix telling the story. You need to organize your skill. This is more of an ATS friendly resume. You need to have, this is where we talk about all our skills. We don't need a laundry list of all our skills listed in any of this.
Okay.
Then see the education's on the bottom piece, but we added the credentials right behind the last name right away
Got
so
it.
people know
Okay.
your credentials. Then you need to have your this is where I call your accomplishment stories. This is, we can even turn this and say career success stories, right? You
Okay.
got to talk about your success in each of the roles. The key is, so this is a sales resume, and if you notice, it's always talking about numbers.
Right.
So easily summarize in a paragraph what you do in a role. Each of the bullets needs to tell a story, but it needs to tell a story of success, needs to tell a story of results. This is where we do need to have matrix and numbers, but we got
Right.
to talk about every day we're solving problems. In each of the roles we're working in, we're solving problems, we're preventing problems from happening.
Okay.
We're always getting results. And that's what the bullets need to talk about, is the results you're getting. Biggest thing is, what are you actually a genius in when it comes to full stack developer, engineer?
Um.
Like, that's a very generic. You're saying you said healthcare,
Yeah.
right? What in healthcare are you a genius in when it comes to, like, you're saying healthcare, IT, and a couple other things. So let's just look at healthcare. I mean, healthcare is booming. This year, it's predicted that healthcare is going to do a lot of hiring. Actually, healthcare has been hiring a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're in actually a really good industry, and you should be getting picked up like this. If you're not getting picked up like this in a booming industry, we got a problem, right? There's a problem. There's a missing link here. Missing link is you're staying too generalized and
Okay.
so generic. Also, that's what I'm telling you. Just turn this into a two-page resume. It's okay
Okay.
to do a little bit more, but really define when it comes to full stack. What's your specialty? Full stack is still, you're still saying, you're kind of like just saying your job title. Like, I see software engineer, but you're saying full stack. So full stack and software engineer to me are different.
Okay.
So
If
are you software engineer, or is it particularly just full stack?
a software engineer, I would say.
So why not just say
Software
software
engineer.
engineer, and
All
then why
right.
you think
Okay.
full stack? But when it comes to software engineer, what are you expert in? What type of softwares are you good at?
Primarily backend services or API services, building out APIs.
So this is where you're gonna start to predefine, right? What
Okay.
you're good at. So what I
Uh,
see here is we can definitely, there's a lot of improvements we can make in your resume, but the first step will be to really understand, when it comes to your 7 years, what have you mastered?
right.
I'm going to give you my free training to 4 days. This is going to help you. This is only for senior level, like mid to senior level career professionals that are looking for 150K plus roles, and that's what you're looking at. So in order to get those roles, like, honestly, if you play your cards right and you position yourself correctly and package yourself correctly and target the right companies, you can actually even land a total composition of 200K, because you're in US and you're in healthcare.
Right. Okay.
But the thing is, we need to figure out, like, in the 7 years, what are you mastered when it comes to software? What are your genius in, and what type of problems have you solved?
All
Take
right.
this 3 day training for a day, and that's where I start. Like, the first day we tackle is how to actually diagnose your entire career,
Uh
to
huh.
identify what you're actually a genius in, what you've mastered, and how to position yourself as an expert now.
All right.
Because the
Okay.
minute you have 7+ years experience, you need to start thinking along those terms, and that's how that's how you're going to make more money in your career.
All right. Okay.
And there's a companies who pay really, really well for software,
Yeah.
like really, really ridiculous,
Yeah.
a lot of money for software engineers. So you need to know, I'm not saying make it all about the money, right? You do
True.
want to make it about the money. You also want to look at the environment, which environment will you thrive in, which boss would you thrive under, organizations on, like, we want to get the complete package, just not the money.
Right.
But
Okay.
right companies will pay you the right amount and also provide an environment where you can thrive in.
Yeah. Probably making it a 2 page would give me some real estate to put the value
Oh
proposition,
yeah,
like build out a summary over there.
and I've spoken to tons of recruiters in my connections. None of us, they all say the same thing like me. Nobody cares if your page is one page or two. This one page is just a buzzword. It's a trend. But sadly, every person that has a one page can land interviews. And
Got it.
every recruiter out there and every hiring manager will tell you it's not about if it's one page, two page, or three page. It's more about are you is your resume has the relevant information that they're looking for.
Okay.
It's not about overload the resume with tons of information. It's all about writing. That's why I always emphasize people that you have to custom write your resume to that one job you're applying to, right? And it
Okay.
can't just be apply and just have one resume, because that's where a lot of people are also losing out. You can apply
Right.
to 10 jobs and land 10 interviews. You can apply to 10 jobs and land 8 interviews. It's not a numbers game. It's not about more jobs you apply to, the better your chances are. I think that's the ridiculous analogy that everybody's using, is just sitting there and applying. You got to get really strategic and quality. It's quality over quantity. Quantity, if you just apply to 10 jobs, by the way, if you turn your, I don't know how your LinkedIn looks like, but everybody, if you start focusing more on LinkedIn, your resume is good, your LinkedIn is great, you can sit and never apply to a job and have recruiters chase you for every role that's out there that you can possibly are a good fit for.
Right.
You
Yeah, I
can
need
get
to
them
work.
to chase you versus you chasing companies. Like even a person that reached out to me today in my network, they're looking to hire and reached out to me, asked me if I know somebody in my network. People do that all the time. And you know what? The person that reached out to me, there's no job description right now. He reached out to me because he knows I'm well connected, and we got on the phone, have a conversation. There's no job description, and he will obviously put it. But this is how hiring happens. Hiring, the minute like, he's not in a rush to hire right now, but he wants to get somebody in. That's why he hasn't posted a job. There's no job description. But this is how hiring actually starts. The
Yeah,
game starts before there's even a job
goes
posting.
live. Yeah.
So this is where I think a lot of people don't understand that 80% of hiring actually happens pre-job posting.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
People will, like, when I know I'm hiring, I'm not gonna post a job. I'm gonna just filter my network and reach out to people. Hey, I'm looking for this. Do you know? Like, I'm gonna turn to my trusted friends, my trusted peers, and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you know anybody? Or if I know somebody that I trust, and be like, hey, I'm hiring for this. Are you interested in new opportunities? Because I think let's talk, right? These are how the stages, the beginning, preliminary, pre-hiring stages begin, is we're just having conversation with the people we know.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense because there are a lot many times we have seen that a requisition gets posted and gets taken down within hours. This job is no longer exists. So probably they already have the candidate. They just posted it for the sake of it. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times, especially public traded companies will post a job simply for, because one, they're public trading, two, they have to abide by the policies, right? It's a requirement to
Right.
post a job. That doesn't mean they're going to pick you and hire you. They already have somebody they want to hire.
Right.
Especially when we start to rank higher in the salary game, yeah, the more it becomes about trust, the more it becomes about credibility, and that's how you're going to get hired. If someone can trust you, and you're credible and you're reliable and you're relevant to what they're looking for, the higher chances you always have to get hired.
Okay.
It's not, I think a lot of times people are making it, oh, but I have the right skills, I have this. It's way more than just having the right skills and having the right credentials, and oh, you can do a job. The company's not looking for that. They're not just merely looking for that, right? They're
Right.
looking for a lot more than that. Can they trust you? Can they have a relationship with you? Can they bond with you? Are you likable? Will you get along? Would you fit in there? It's not about fitting in, but would you add value? Can you get along with the people in the group? Are you a right person for the environment?
Right.
I've done a
Right.
lot of hiring, and I can tell you a lot of time, at 9 out of 10, this is what hiring is. It's not just checkbox that you have the skills. Companies look beyond the skills too. Yes, you have to have the skills to do the job, granted, but when it comes to hiring, it's way beyond just now the skills you have, the personality, the trust factor. Can you get along? Also, sometimes, like I remember hiring for a role, and this is many years ago, and it's fresh in my memory because I just met the person I hired many years ago. We have common people and friends, and just reconnected after so many years. And we were talking, and then I told him the truth. Now, I go, the reason we hired you, we had so many qualified candidates, but the problem wasn't the candidates. The problem was the manager
Oh.
needed somebody who had thick skin to work with that manager. So that's why, like, I'm telling you guys, like, a lot of times it's never like, how am I supposed to give feedback to somebody and say, hey, you're great,
Right.
but uh, but the manager is difficult to work with. You can't say that. You
That's
can't
something.
share
Yeah.
that,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
understand.
if we were friends, I can share that openly. I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all, I wouldn't even let you go apply for the job, right? But if you were interested, I'm gonna give you the whole 911 on it, right? I'm gonna lay it all out for you. Sometimes I have done this couple of times only because the person I was speaking to actually we connected. There was a connection. We connected really well. We bonded during the interview. That after work hours, I did call her and said, listen, I'm calling you not because I'm the nature of this company. I'm calling you as one peer to another, as a good human being, but this is off the record. And I gave her the 411 on the entire company. And I told her why she shouldn't be going for that role. And plus, I felt that she was way more talented than just that job, and she should be going for much more higher roles. And then I did tell her the work environment. She would be an executive assistant to the C level. The person she was going to be an executive assistant was not the greatest person to work with. And I told her that.
Okay.
And I said, this is off record. That's why, hence, I'm calling you um, after hours, work hours. And we built a relationship during the interview, and that's why I felt the need to do it. And also told us they were still connected. We're uh, down the road, she actually became my client and worked with me, hired me as their coach. But even till this day, like, I can reach out to her and she'll do anything for me, and I'll do anything for her. It's nothing about she was my client, but at the time she wasn't even my client when I did this for her. There are generally great people out there. We can't always be giving this information. There's a trust, right? When you trust
Right.
somebody, you will give this information.
Yeah. I guess this is where networking is so much important, the word of mouth and
Yeah,
referring.
but this person that I did this for, I met her while I was interviewing her.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm saying you can build
Right.
interviews
Yeah, the
or
relationship. You need to
networking.
build the relationship.
The minute you see interviews as networking, it's a game changer.
Got it.
I didn't hire her. It was her call, but we made a great friendship, and we built that relationship until this day. Like, fast forward 5, 6 years from to today, I can she has I can hit her up even now, and she can hit me up. And we've done collaborations, we've helped each other out. Like, but that's a relationship you build. And that's why I always tell people that a lot of people don't know how to network because they're making a transaction. I
Right.
need something, so let me go hit up everybody I know, or let me just randomly add people to my connections and then hit them up for referral. I had an email DM today asking for referrals. A complete stranger is asking me referrals. Every day I get those DMs on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But like, people don't sit there and think for a second, why should a complete stranger spend their time going through their network to then refer
Reference.
you, a complete stranger, right? Like, I don't know you, but
Yeah.
if I know you, yes, I would take that step and do it, right? The friendship, we'll do anything for
Right.
our friends and family.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what networking is all about. Is you got to build those friendships.
Yep. I understand.
Okay.
Yep.
So I would tell you to take the 4-day training.
Okay.
Um, and then that will give you a jump start on what you need to do next.
All
Sounds
right.
good?
Yeah. Yep. I have signed up for it. It seems. Yep. I'll do that. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next person. Pratakasha, is it? Pratikasha?
Pratiksha.
Pratiksha.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So tell me about yourself, a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Pratiksha. So I have recently completed my postgraduate in global business management. My background is in finance, and in bachelor's I have done the finance, and here in Canada I have been trying to get a like corporate job in account or bookkeeping or anything like that, but I have not been able to secure one because I think the reason behind that maybe I don't have a Canadian experience. So I just want to know if I can be able to get a job by my back home experience, or do I need to have a Canadian experience and all.
You don't have to have Canadian experience. The key will be to how you leverage your experience from from another country, how you leverage that and make it relatable to. So what country are we talking about here?
Nepal.
Nepal. Okay. And the country you're applying for is Canada. So you got to look at if it's bookkeeping. The biggest huddle here is for bookkeeping. Do you know, are you, do you have your CPA?
No, I don't have a CPA.
So that's going to create a huddle for you because accounting requires CPA. Now, for bookkeeping, you obviously don't need CPA, but when it comes to bookkeeping, you're going to have to showcase that you already know the Canadian way of doing bookkeeping.
And how do I do that?
Have you looked in, have you done market research on how companies in Canada, how bookkeeping is done?
Yeah, I have been doing that. My friend works in accounting firm and he's helping me with that as well.
So then it comes down to how you take the experience from a different country and now translate it so that's relatable.
Hmm.
Well, you said you prepared GST and HST returns in INF International.
I just wanted to make it like there was a job posting and I wanted to relate with that and I
But
made
you
it
just said you're
accordingly.
from Nepal. So how are you doing
Yeah,
GST and HST now? You're lying, right? We don't want to lie.
no, it was just I just shared my resume in hurry. It was like I was trying to say, I don't know. It just mismatched
You're lying.
because
You're lying. Let's just be honest.
yeah,
You are
no,
lying.
I was showing that I had
Huh?
done an internship over here, and
You
I
did
could
an internship for 3 years.
no for 1 month, and I had written that over there, and
Which
I deleted.
sorry, where did you do the internship? Because account associate INF, it showcases that you've been working there for 3 years, January 2020 to August 2023.
Yeah, that's not from here, but I did internship in my friend's farm, and then I had
Where is that? Where is the internship in your friend's firm?
in Canada.
Where is it on your resume?
I just mismatched everything because I was in hurry. This is the new that I created just now.
Well, if you just created this and you mismatch and you're in a hurry, how is that going to benefit you in landing jobs?
Yeah, I know. I just want some feedback from you. Like,
Yeah, but if you wanted feedback, why not wait until you actually have a resume, well-written resume to get the feedback instead of just hurrying and getting it out there so that you can hop on this call to get the feedback?
yeah, but I will be back. But until then, can you give me some feedback?
I'm already giving you feedback. Um, is one, I don't understand why you have a profile and then you have a professional summary. So those two things are too much. Um, I wouldn't write dedicated, detail oriented. Accounting professional, everybody writes that. When it comes to accounting, what are you good at? What are you exceptionally great? How can you save money? How can you generate money for companies? Accounting, bookkeeping is the most important piece of an organization because it helps companies see how much money they're making, how much expenses they have. So revenues minus expenses equals profits. You're basically managing company's money. So how good are you managing that? Where are the numbers? All I see is bunch of duties and responsibilities, but I really don't see much numbers on your resume, and yet you're saying you're accounting professional.
Yeah, I don't know how to write that. I need help on that.
Okay, if you don't know how to write that, then I will suggest you take my resume writing course. You can grab it today for 50% off.
Hmm. I'm willing to grab that.
Okay, so there is the link. I dropped it in the private conversation chat section in this studio. It's 50% off. Grab it. In there, I teach you actually how to write a resume that's going to land you interviews. Because unfortunately, the way you've written your resume right now, just the wordings, it's not going to get you the interviews you're looking for. Like just saying you can prepare and do GST and HSTs and payroll is not going to be good enough.
Yeah, but I have another question as well.
Okay.
Like I want to apply in other positions as well. So this resume won't help me in the other positions. So people,
What other positions are you applying to?
other positions such as like maybe sales, marketing.
Why? What is it that you really want?
Sorry.
What do you want though?
Yeah, if I want to apply in other positions
No,
and
no, 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 no. Let's take a moment to hear my question, please.
okay,
I'm asking you, what is it that you really want? When you vision your career, what does that look like?
I look for content.
So then stick to that. Like, why do you need to create multiple resumes? If you want counting, go after that. When we start to look at all the other roles, then there's a part of you doesn't believe that you can land an accounting role.
Mm.
Why not put all your energy into fixing your resume, fixing your LinkedIn profile, doing job search strategy? Like I have 15 to 20 strategies that can help you land interviews really, really fast. In the end of the day, like the amount of time it's going to take you to write another resume and land other interviews, you can take that and put that into what you really want. Go after what you really want.
Yeah, but the problem is Canadian experience, which I don't have. So
The minute, okay, so the problem isn't that you don't have Canadian experience. The problem is that you're telling yourself a story that because you don't have a Canadian experience, you're not going to land a job here. So you're already telling that to yourself, hence why hence why you're not landing those interviews. What you believe is what's going to happen in your reality. You believe you don't have Canadian experience and hence no one's going to hire you. Because I've heard this from you 3 times now. I don't have Canadian experience. I don't have Canadian experience. The problem is I don't have Canadian experience.
yes,
Counting is accounting. Yes, you do. You just said that you've been working with your friend's firm, so you
yeah,
have Canadian experience.
yeah. But
It
they
all
ask
comes down
for
to
1 year.
uh-huh.
They ask for 1 year and more.
It all comes down to how you position yourself, how you sell it. You're already showing that you have 3 years of accounting experience.
Yes.
So, so if you're already showing that, what's the problem? I don't get it.
Yeah, I also don't get it. What's the problem
The
for
reason,
me not
okay,
getting a
so
job?
yeah, the problem is that you're showcasing it, but deep down inside you don't believe in it. Doesn't matter what you show on the resume, right? In the end of the day, it's about you believe. You
Yes,
can manipulate your resume however you want, but if deep down you don't believe you're gonna get that job because you don't have Canadian experience, that fear is always going to be the energy driving energy, the dominating energy that's going to dictate where you end up, if you're going to get that result or not. And hence why you're not landing those interviews, right?
yeah.
Because you believe you're not going to land them.
I have the next page too. Can you see it as well? Is it necessary or it's just
No, I don't need to look at it to tell you what you're doing wrong. I already looked at the first page to point out a lot of mistakes that you're already doing in your resume. Okay?
okay?
All right. Okay. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
No.
So, if I go to this course, will you be teaching me?
I have already put the teachings in a recording. So they're recording teachings, recording videos. It's pre-recorded, and you get the recordings and you follow the course. It's self-paced, self-learning course. So it's
Oh,
online, but self-learning.
okay. So I have to learn and then I'll have to upgrade my
Yeah,
CV myself.
it's hands-on. So I teach it very interactively and hands-on. So everything is hands-on. It's only about roughly 3 hours. You can have your resume done in less than a couple of days.
But how will I know how it will be ATS friendly because I won't be
I
able
give
to.
you, I give you, I teach you how to write a resume that's ATS friendly. I give you the ATS template. I give you everything to set you up for success. There's ATS templates to go with the resume. So use the template that's already provided to cut your work in half.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too. Okay, Nishita, do you have your resume? No, you cannot share your resume in the chat box. Okay, anybody else that wants me to review their resume? If you are, let me know in the comment section who wants to go next. If you want to, you can always hop on the live. I don't see any more requests coming in, so I'm going to end this right here. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. And join me next time for my next session. I will be doing these sessions very regularly. I'll be covering a lot of different teachings. This is like the fourth session I've done. I've gathered a lot of information to see where people are going wrong. The next few days, I'll be teaching a lot about job searching. Please tune in to watch my live sessions or catch it replay, where I'll be actually doing live coaching, live teachings to help you set up for your success for 2025.